We are biologically hardwired to fear the dark, yet our ancestors thrived in it for hundreds of thousands of years. How did they survive the night without light bulbs, locks, or walls? Evolutionary psychology tells us that the fear of the dark is an ancient survival mechanism. It is called nyctophobia. We possess this fear because the night was once the domain of apex predators. For a primate in the Pleistocene, the shadows were not empty. They were hiding spots for saber-toothed cats and giant hyenas. Yet early humans did not spend their nights paralyzed in terror. They spent them working, socializing, and evolving. The control of fire changed everything. Homo erectus mastered fire roughly 1 million years ago. This was the first major step toward conquering the night. Fire provided three critical things: warmth, protection from predators, and a social hub. By creating a circle of light, humans defined their own territory. Anything inside the light was safe. Anything outside was a mystery. Fire also extended the human day. Without artificial light, humans are naturally diurnal. We are meant to sleep when the sun goes down. But fire allowed us to extend our active hours. We started cooking food. Cooking increased caloric intake, which fueled the rapid growth of the human brain. We started telling stories. These stories became the foundations of religion, history, and culture. The campfire was the first classroom. The idea that humans were terrified of the dark is a modern construct. In the pre-industrial world, darkness was not synonymous with evil or danger. It was simply the state of the world after sunset. Historians like Roger Ekirch have pointed out that before the 18th century, humans practiced segmented sleep. They slept in two 4-hour blocks. Between these blocks, there was a period of wakefulness known as the watch. During the watch, people were not hiding under blankets. They were active. They checked the fire. They talked to their spouses. They prayed. They even visited neighbors. The darkness was not a barrier to living. It was just a different mode of existence. We only became afraid of the dark once we began to banish it. Think about the transition from candles to gaslight, then to the incandescent bulb. In the late 1800s, cities began to glow around the clock. We created a 24-hour economy. We pushed the darkness into the corners of our lives. Because we stopped interacting with the dark, we started fearing it. We turned it into a void. We turned it into a place where bad things happen because we are no longer accustomed to its presence. Consider the biological perspective. Our eyes are not built for absolute darkness. We lack the tapetum lucidum that allows cats and owls to see at night. But our ancestors developed a sophisticated suite of sensory tools to compensate. They relied on acoustics. They relied on smell. They mapped their environment through sound. In a natural environment, a snap of a twig carries immense information. You can tell if it is a large animal or a small breeze. You can tell if it is coming from the left or the right. Early humans were masters of their auditory landscape. They didn't need to see a predator to know it was there. They could hear the breath. They could hear the gait. Survival in the dark was about hyper-awareness, not cowardice. It was about being present in the environment rather than trying to dominate it. It was about respect for the nocturnal ecosystem. Archaeologists have found evidence of hearths in caves across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Some of these caves are massive. They are pitch black just a few meters from the entrance. Yet, ancient humans painted intricate art in the deepest parts of these caves. They traveled hundreds of feet into the abyss holding torches. They were not afraid of the dark. They were using it as a canvas. They were performing rituals in the heart of the mountain. The Chauvet Cave in France dates back 30,000 years. The paintings there are masterpieces of shading and movement. To create them, the artists had to navigate complex tunnels, climb treacherous rock faces, and work by the flickering light of animal fat lamps. This was not the behavior of a species terrified of the dark. This was the behavior of a species that had mastered it. So, why do we fear the dark today? We fear it because we have lost our sensory connection to the environment. We live in boxes of glass and concrete. We are blinded by artificial light. When the power goes out, we are helpless because we have forgotten how to listen. We have forgotten how to trust our other senses. The fear of the dark is essentially a fear of the unknown. And in our modern world, we have made everything known. We have satellite maps, GPS, and high definition cameras. We have stripped the world of its mystery. When we step into the dark, we feel vulnerable because we are no longer in control. But for 99% of human history, control was not the point. Belonging was the point. Humans understood that they were part of a cycle. The day belonged to the sun, and the night belonged to the stars and the moon. They lived in harmony with these rhythms. They didn't see the dark as a threat. They saw it as a time for the spirit. There is a concept in anthropology called the sacred night. In many hunter-gatherer societies, the night is when the boundaries between the human world and the spiritual world become thin. It is when the ancestors speak. It is when dreams are processed. It is when the community reinforces its bond through ritual. If we look at the historical timeline, the fear of the dark is a very recent development. It aligns perfectly with the rise of urban isolation. As we became more disconnected from nature, we became more paranoid about what lies beyond our line of sight. It is worth noting that we are still nocturnal animals in our biology. Even today, our internal clocks are dictated by light. The production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, is triggered by the setting sun. We fight this cycle with blue light screens and late night work shifts, but our bodies know the truth. We are built for the dark. Think about the psychological toll of never seeing the stars. In major cities, light pollution is so severe that the Milky Way is invisible. We have literally blocked out the universe. We have isolated ourselves from the infinite. This isolation is a form of sensory deprivation. Maybe the reason we are so anxious, stressed, and tired is that we have declared war on the night. We are trying to live in a state of permanent day. But the brain needs the contrast. It needs the quiet. It needs the darkness to rest and reset. Our ancestors didn't have to be afraid of the dark because they were never truly alone in it. They were surrounded by their tribes. They were connected to the earth. They were tethered to the rhythm of the fire. We need to reclaim our relationship with the darkness. It doesn't mean we have to live in caves or abandon technology. It just means we need to accept that the dark is a part of the human experience. It is where our imagination thrives. It is where our deepest thoughts reside. When you sit in the dark, you are not stepping into a place of danger. You are stepping into the same space that allowed the first humans to paint, to dream, and to think. You are stepping into a space that has been a part of your genetic heritage for millions of years. You have the instincts of a hunter, an artist, and a survivor. They are just buried under layers of modern comfort. The next time you find yourself in the dark, try not to reach for your phone. Try not to flip a switch. Just sit, listen to the room, feel the temperature, let your eyes adjust. You will realize that the dark is not an enemy. It is a presence. It is the background music of the universe. It is the cradle of human creativity. Our ancestors didn't conquer the dark by fearing it. They conquered it by understanding it. They recognized that the night was not a void, but a vast, silent potential. They knew that the shadows were not hiding monsters, but possibilities. In a way, our modern obsession with artificial light is a sign of our insecurity. We are terrified of the silence. We are terrified of the lack of input. We need constant stimulation to feel alive. But the most profound human breakthroughs did not happen in the glare of the spotlight. They happened around the embers of a dying fire, in the quiet, shadowed corners of a cave. We need to return to the dark to find ourselves. We need to remember that our ancestors did not hide from the night. They owned it, they danced, they sang, and they told their stories in the darkness. They were the original masters of the light, precisely because they respected the dark. If we want to understand who we are, we have to look past the glare. We have to be willing to sit with the shadows. We have to learn to stop fighting the night. Because in the end, we are all children of the darkness. We are evolved from creatures that saw the stars as a roadmap and the shadows as a sanctuary. The fear is not natural. The fear is learned. It is a symptom of our separation from the natural order of the world. Once you peel away that fear, you find something else. You find freedom. You find the vast, quiet expanse of the human potential. The night is waiting for you. It has been there for millions of years. It doesn't care about your schedules or your fears. It just exists. And maybe, in that simple existence, there is a lesson we have been missing all along. We are not victims of the dark. We are its companions. We are the ones who figured out how to make fire. We are the ones who turned the night into a stage. We have always been the light. So next time that lights go out, don't look for the switch. Look for the fire inside you. Look for the stories waiting to be told in the silence. Look for the strength that your ancestors left in your DNA. The darkness is not a sign that the day is over. It is a sign that the real work of being human is just beginning. What would you create if you weren't afraid of the dark?